Hello and welcome to the talk on the caste question, the issues of social oppression and untouchability facing the Indian society today. We have with us B.V. Raghavulu, Vice President of the Struggle Committee Against Caste Discrimination. There is a belief in the society that today in this modern day and age, the caste system has become obsolete and there is no prevalence of caste discrimination. What is your opinion on this?
It is true among wide sections of the intellectuals and academicians, and especially among the leaders of the bourgeoisie parties and people's representatives, there is a wide impression that after the 65 years of independence and the violent forms of caste discrimination was wiped out because of the policies of the government and various social welfare measures. They think that the caste discrimination was eliminated in India. If there are some vestiges of it, it's not significant. That is the opinion. But actual empirical evidence and various researches and surveys prove that there is widespread caste discrimination against Dalits and untouchables in various parts of the country. The so-called developed states also witness vigorous caste discrimination against untouchables. For example, to verify this truth, I have myself toured 100 villages in Rangad district. It's surrounding Hyderabad, the metropolitan and cosmopolitan city Hyderabad. Surrounding Hyderabad themselves is a better and serious types of caste discrimination is prevalent. So how can you say that when the caste discrimination is prevalent in nearby cities and faraway places of the states, we can't expect that caste discrimination was wiped out. So that's why various studies of NGOs, various studies of even Sukhdev Thorat recently brought out a book including various surveys in different parts of the countries. All these studies goes to prove, all the experience, field experience of our activists also goes to prove that still in large parts of the country, in large parts of states, these various forms of caste discrimination are still prevalent. For example, in our state, about 60 types of caste discrimination is there, and even the so-called developed coastal areas where delta is 100 years old, even in those areas Dalits are being discriminated in many ways. In one sense, Dalits are violent acts, violent atrocities against Dalits are more in coastal and developed areas because of education and some development, Dalits start to assert some of their rights. When they start asserting, the retaliation comes from upper caste and violence breaks out. That is the situation now. So it is unfortunate after 65 years of independence, we have to still talk of prevailing untouchability.
What do you think are the reasons for this sustaining of this social oppression? Why is it continuing even after, when there has been some urbanization, there have been some development, some opportunities provided to Dalits also to come up. Despite this, the social aspect of it, I mean the social oppression is still continuing. What is?
It is true, in urban areas the prevalence of caste discrimination is not so big. If urbanization takes place in a big way, the caste discrimination practices may be lessened. But unfortunately, in India, urbanization is still at a meager state. If you take all India picture, about 30% is the urbanization. Still 70% of the population live in villages. And if you take Dalits especially, even in this urbanization, Dalits are the least benefited section, and the migration to urban areas from Dalits is very, very less. So in India, when you talk of when you discuss about caste discrimination, this urbanization has minimal effect on the question. The second thing is the crux of the strength of the upper caste to unleash this discrimination is in their monopoly over land resources. In spite of so many land reform acts and other things, this land monopoly still is concentrated in upper caste. That was not broken down by these. In these last 2 decades, the reverse land reform is taking place. That means the land given to Dalits are being taken away, and most of that land is given to the upper caste and rich people. So that's why, because the land monopoly is not broken, the strength of the power of the upper caste still remain in the villages. Because urbanization has not taken place, the non-agricultural employment for rural Dalits is very meager. That's why these are the main objective conditions that prop up the untouchability and discrimination in rural villages. Unless a policy framework is evolved to break down the monopoly of the land in the upper caste, unless the Dalits are given opportunities to migrate out of the villages, to migrate out of the agriculture dependence, we can't think of breaking down this caste discrimination immediately.
The latest census report also says that a large number of agricultural laborers in India are from the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe community. So unless they are given opportunities to move out of the agricultural economy.
There are so many ways to do it. One way is to break up the monopoly of the upper caste and distribute land to every family of Dalits and non-Dalits, so that they can live on an equal footing in the village, so that some community, some people with their monopoly on land, they can exert power, exert discrimination against Dalits. It can be prevented. If that is not possible, the other possibility is giving opportunities for Dalits through education, through skill development, to migrate from villages and pursue their non-agricultural livelihoods elsewhere. By that they can escape from the rural dominance of the upper caste. So either way, the government should be involved in these things, but the government is incapable of doing, because in rural areas these bourgeois landlord parties mainly depend on these rural rich and upper caste landlord sections for keeping their power intact. That's why all the ruling parties who are in state or the center, they are lukewarm towards land reforms. They are lukewarm to curb the power of the rural upper caste rich. That is one of the reasons for continuing this land monopoly in rural areas.
In this background, what do you think the role of the social movement should be, and especially in the context of the growth of identity politics and all, how should the social movements confront this situation which is there?
The growth of identity movements and itself, I think there is a good aspect behind that, because it can create some consciousness of their rights of the Dalits and other sections. So it can the growth of identity can prompt the Dalits and other poorer sections to assert their rights in the rural areas. That is one aspect of the democratic aspect of these identity movements. But there is a negative aspect in that also, because the identity means splitting of the various sections of the poorer people, various castes also. Even the identity is splitting the Dalits themselves into different subcastes and other things. So it is weakening the solidarity and weakening the striking capacity of these poorer sections. So in a way, the identity which creates some social consciousness among the people, that identity itself is creating disunity among the people. That is the weakness of the. So ultimately, the identity can't fight the issue of social discrimination, or because it's naturally inclined to divide the people. So here the necessity of social movements which can unite all these identities, which can unite all the various forces together. That type of a broader force is necessary to unite these people to fight against caste discrimination. Then only social movements can be an instrument to fight caste discrimination. That is because of recognition of this necessity, we started our committee against caste discrimination in Andhra Pradesh, and that same type of organization also was set up in Tamil Nadu. In various states, that type of organizations are coming up. The necessity of bringing all these various sections and to smoothing of the contradictions between all these areas is necessary to fight this caste discrimination. We can't entirely depend on the state's magnanimity to overcome this. One way, if you leave this thing to state will perpetuate the situation of this caste discrimination. That's why the necessity of intervention of social movements is very high. And another thing is, various mass organizations, various class organizations, various organizations working among different sections, but they are concentrating on their class or mass. Take for example, the trade unions are concentrating on the economic issues of the workers, but among workers there are Dalits, among workers these caste divisions are there, but fighting against that caste division among the working classes is a necessity. That way, all the mass organizations which are working in various sections and masses of people, they also should make a part of their work the fight against caste discrimination. Unless that is done, we can't overcome these caste discriminations.
Andhra Pradesh is the first state in the country to have enacted the legislation giving statutory status to the subplan for Dalits and tribals. And it is also probably one of the first states where a government has appointed a state level commission to tour the villages and survey the kinds of oppression and discrimination that are there. What have been your experiences in fighting caste discrimination in Andhra Pradesh?
As you mentioned, these are the two important achievements of the social movements in Andhra Pradesh. One is setting up of a commission, scheduled caste commission, and enactment and act for formation of the scheduled caste commission is one important achievement. And the other is enactment of a statute for implementation of SC/ST subplan. These are the two achievements. They are not the they are not being given by the government as a benefits. For years together, the social movements, various identity organizations and class organizations united together and fought and achieved these two things. But in spite of those statutory mechanisms for these two issues, the implementation is not not up to the mark. There are some lacunae in the acts, but the enactment of these statutes themselves gave consciousness to the Dalits, gave confidence to the Dalits to assert their rights. That is one of the important achievements. Now the social movements in Andhra Pradesh is working to improve upon these statutes so that they can be implemented very effectively against these atrocities, against these caste discrimination and things. And another important, when social movements take up these issues for their opportunities' sake, various parties also are supporting these things. For their electoral vote bank politics, they might support, but apart from their motives, if your social movements take up seriously these issues and goes to the people, mobilize the grassroots level mobilization, all the even bourgeois parties also rally around and they were forced to support this type of activity. So that's why, in spite of government reluctance, if movements take up, social movements come up in various states, the bourgeois parties also will be forced to come forward and support these movements, and they can also win certain concessions with regard to the elimination of caste discrimination.
There is a general belief even among the left movements, progressive movements, that if caste issues are taken up, it will hamper the broader unity of the class forces. How does one confront this question? How does one?
We can't wish away that apprehension. If you take up caste issue, in a factory, certainly there will be dissonance among the working class, and most of the trade union activists, especially left activists, are very much apprehensive. If you take up the caste issue in a factory and if workers are divided on caste basis, that may weaken their strength against the management. That is the apprehension. There is truth in it. Because of that truth only, the left or other activists are very much apprehensive about taking up this issue. But the point is, through their apprehension, if you don't take the caste question among the workers, the untouchables and other poorer sections who daily face caste discrimination even at factory level, they will be alienated and they will go away and form their own separate unions to fight their. Anyhow, if you take up the issues, there will be some problem. If you don't take up that issue, there will be a bigger problem of alienating a section and going and dividing the working class. This is the situation. How to proceed? How to, in short term, there may be problem if you take caste question, but in the long term, taking caste question among the workers will actually eliminate the caste consciousness and unite all the workers and give confidence to the workers belonging to various weaker sections to go with, mix with all the workers, and so that the solidarity among the working class will be strengthened. You should not look this issue in the short term basis. In the long term working class unity basis, if you look at that point, the activists' apprehensions will go away and will work for the elimination of caste consciousness among the working class.
Similar is the belief that the left parties have been taking up issues of class very seriously, but when it comes to the caste question and facing the caste discrimination and all, it has been found wanting to take up and fight against caste discrimination all over the country.
Understanding among the left parties, understanding among the communists on caste question, there is no lacunae, there is no deficiency. But most of the communist parties felt that the revolution is imminent. It is very, very near. Once revolution occurs, all these social issues, all these discriminations, patriarchy or caste discrimination can be eliminated. So now we feel that achievement of revolution is far away. It will take a long time. It will take hard work. So instead of waiting for the success of revolution and postponing the social issues for that purpose, the necessity of taking up all the social issues immediately, even now, has come into the agenda. That's why the left parties also corrected their understanding of imminence of revolution. They are now, because of the change in international national situation, it's a long fight for achieving socialist revolution. So now they are forced to think of immediately taking up these social issues and work for the unity of the people. That is one thing. The second thing is, there is a deterministic attitude about the economic factor in changing the society. But the dialectical interaction between the economic factor and social factors is there. We know the theory, but in practice we used to stress on the economics aspect. We used to stress on the issue of wages and land, other things. We used to neglect culture. We can't say we neglected, but we left that thing for a certain individual, certain organizations. But cultural activity and cultural change, that should be become part of every organization, every activity. Take for example CITU. Why should trade union neglect literature, neglect culture among the workers? Why should agriculture labor unions neglect folk culture among agriculture? You should take up. So cultural regeneration and cultural activity should become a part of every activity, including economic activity. That wholesome attitude is deficient up to now. Even now we have to overcome that deficiency in future. Otherwise, what Gramsci said, the civil society is equally important along with the economic structure of the society. So we have to work wholesomely, every organization. So in that way only we can overcome this deficiency. So the criticism against left parties that it gave exclusive theoretical importance to economic factors, not to the other factors, is not correct. But in practice, because of its assessment of imminent revolution, some lapses occurred. Now the movement has to correct, and movement is especially left parties including CPM is correcting all those aspects of this issue.
Thank you. There is an imminent need for a broad social reform movement to be launched in the country to take up the challenges of social oppression and fighting caste discrimination.